Good afternoon, everybody. Katie Chuba from the Hartland Chamber, and welcome to our Zoom at noon. Just kind of waiting for everyone to log on to today's webinar, so thank you for joining us. And our guest presenter today is Mitch Lipon with Ignite XDS. He's a marketing expert, and he's going to be logging on in just a second. So we'll just kind of hang tough here. I'm watching the attendee numbers climb as well. So I appreciate your patience and waiting just a minute here. Seeing lots of familiar faces that are coming on. Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing good. Kind of a crazy day today. It's raining out, so good indoor day to sit on some webinars. Lots going on. And I'm just kind of patiently waiting for Mitch. I didn't send him the panelist link, so I'm guilty. So I just sent it to him, so he should be joining on any second. I just emailed it to him. Might be just taking a minute here. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Who's chatting with me? Let's check it out. Give us the roster for next week while you wait. Oh, good tip, Stephanie. The roster, you mean the Zooms at noon? Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Ginny. Dale, no, I cannot see you. The only people that you will see today are Mitch and myself. So everyone else that dialed into the webinar, everyone's muted. If you have a question, I'm just going to ask that you type it in a Q&A. Dale, you cracked me up. Hi, Mitch. Good afternoon.
Sorry about that.
No, you know what? It's my fault. So I just did not send you the panelist link. So sorry about that, but I'm kind of chatting with all the attendees, so it's kind of fun. A lot of familiar faces are on the, no, you're good. It was my fault. So it's raining today. No one's really doing anything anyway, so it's all good. So I really appreciate you taking the time, Mitch, for joining us at today's Zoom at noon. So you're awesome. I appreciate it. We are doing these Zooms at noons every Tuesday and Thursday, everyone that's listening. It's the goal of the Zooms at noon are to invite industry experts and business leaders in our community to share with us what they're doing in their business for success and share their specialty or their expertise in their industry with everybody else to help us navigate and survive and revive and thrive. That's my new saying. So with further ado, Mitch, I wanted to introduce you. So Mitch is the CEO of Ignite XDS. He is a marketing expert, and how long have you been doing this, Mitch? Long time, right?
Yeah, we've been around for 33 or 34 years, so long enough to cause damage.
I was going to say, that's kind of a short time, right? So I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your company, and then we'll kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what you and I kind of talked about.
Okay. So Ignite is, like we just said, we're a marketing and business growth firm. We're in Brighton. Actually live in Hartland. I grew up in Hartland, as a matter of fact. And we work with all kinds of companies. We have several school systems. We've got some global clients. We've got a couple of smaller, local clients that we just brought Eternity Brewing in Howell on. Great place to buy some beer. There's a plug for them if they're on or if they're not. But
I love it.
So it really, to us, doesn't matter the size of the company. It matters the growth potential and the opportunity. Spent a lot of time working in the car business that taught us how to be hyper competitive, and so sort of who we are, what we do. We have a core philosophy we'll sort of get into in a minute of identifying the position our clients are in the market before we even think about the kind of message we want to deliver, and then always looking to put process in place to make are actually working, and we're thinking forward and we're looking behind and we're kind of looking around. So I mean, that's just the gist of it. The rest of it, I think we can go through as we start talking about this.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, before we kind of get into that, what are some of your clients telling you what their big hurdles are right now with kind of everything that's going on?
Right now, it depends on the client. We've got some clients that are really heavy into the manufacturing space, and they're running into problems with production and maintaining, those types of things. Consumer clients, the ones that are open, really getting the message out that they're actually open. And then ones that aren't open, or can't be open, we're working with them. They have fear of, when, who, all the kind of things that everyone thinks about, but really kind of trying to prepare. And that's a lot of what we'll talk about today, trying to prepare for when we can throw the doors open, and what is it going to look like, and how can they be front of mind. So marketing, it's really about how is your brand perceived and known. And so that's not changed now that some of the rules of the game have changed, and budgets have obviously, I guess that's probably the most important thing right now is budgets, with a little bit of revenue, how do you get some things done? And I actually have a couple examples that we'll talk about a little later, of what some people are doing that are really not costing them a whole heck of a lot of money, and I think are going to prove good results for them. So
Yeah, that was great. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's kind of my thing right now. Like how do you, maybe some of us have some downtime, and how do you look at your marketing strategy right now compared to when you have all this revenue coming in? So I know you're going to share some really cost-effective ways to maybe relook at your brand and how to exploit your brand, and adapt to what we got going on.
It is one of the advantages of this downtime right now, is people have a chance to really spend some time that they might not normally have, when things are rolling. And so it's a good time to kind of look inward and look around and maybe make some dramatic changes. So we found that happening a few times with clients we have. So, it's there's no magic silver pill, or silver bullet and magic pills. Those things don't exist, but elbow grease can go a long way in marketing, and common sense can go a long way, so.
Yeah. I like to use the phrase, there's no crystal ball, though, the joke is on my Zooms is I need to have so it's like my pretend crystal ball. And I will tell you too, I will share with you, Mitch, here at the chamber, we've obviously have downtime as well. And we've looked at our marketing, we're a business too, right? So we've given our LinkedIn some love, we've looked at our social media. I'm kind of like trying to get subscribers for our YouTube channel now, so like I can put the Zoom on there. So you're right, there is, like you said, didn't have time to look at before that, we're taking the time to look at. So, I was going to ask you, I know you shared a really nice document with me, by the way, which I thought was really cool. And you're so elegant with your words and just some of the things.
Yeah, I already saw a typo in it.
Oh, that's okay. No, I'm saying, like, even like on your LinkedIn profile, you don't sugarcoat it. You say, this is the way it is. You want to get in front of your customer, you got to say kind of what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And I like the way that you are. I guess it's attracting to me, right? Like, I'm like, oh, he doesn't sugarcoat it. Let me see what else he has to say. So I really enjoy the way you write. So did you want to screen share and share that document with everybody?
Sure. Can I do it from here?
Or do you want me to?
If
You
you have
can, or
it,
I
Debbie,
can.
you can, yeah, you can do it. That'd be easy, I think. And if you know how to,
Okay.
I don't use Zoom. We use a program called Join Me, so I'm not as comfortable with Zoom. So if you know how to do it, that'd probably be a little more seamless.
Okay. Let me,
There's really
let's,
three
yeah,
graphics in it. There's really just the three graphics, and the rest it was just an outline, so it had a sense of where we were going to go and how I thought this could go. Can I get a sense of who's on, the types of companies that are on? Is there a
yeah,
general
yeah,
sense that way? I can,
absolutely. So if you look on the bottom of the screen, you'll see a chat. So
Mhm.
everybody, if you can, I know there's some nonprofits on here. We have some home-based business. I'm just reading through. If I missed you, please type in chat, what your business is. There's some folks on here I don't know, but there are, I would say mostly small business,
Okay, that's good.
is kind of
That'll
who
help.
our audience is.
Yeah, I figured. So that'll help. I just wanted to kind of have a sense so I knew how to couch the, conversation. I think it's
For
pretty
sure.
much across the board. The things I want to talk about today, I think go uh, B2B, B2C, and really almost any size, just with some sort of scale, so.
Right. For sure. Um, People
So,
are little lighting manufacturer events,
mhm, okay.
Ginny's Dance Works, credit unions, things like that. So I'm gonna, do you want me to go? I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen,
Sure, sure.
and we'll get this document up so everybody can see it. It's kind of cool.
So,
Let
so
me
to
drag it
start,
over. Hold on.
while you're doing that, I can probably set some context. And one of the places we start every single client, and maybe this goes to your comment about being direct, but one of the first things we tell all of our clients is your customers don't think as highly of you as you think they do, and you should start from there. So if you think about who starts and runs businesses, entrepreneurial people are naturally optimistic. They're naturally go-getters and those types of things. And that's actually a detriment to them when they start thinking about how to market, because they see the sunny side of everything. They think everyone's going to think like they think. They do all of those types of things. The first graphic that's there in the document, it's the one that says 80% and 8%. This was culled from a study 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago now. A company called Bain and Company. They're a pretty good sized research organization and financial company, and they surveyed a large number of C-level executives at pretty large companies, but I think this goes across the board, and in a minute we'll talk about why I think it really makes sense. And they asked these people that are running these companies how they thought they were delivering on their brand experience, meaning how much do you think your customers like you? And going into that entrepreneurial mindset, 80% of those executives thought that they were delivering a really positive brand experience to their customers. Bain then went and interviewed the customers of those companies, and a whopping 8% of them agreed with the C-level, executives. So 72% disparity is not in the neighborhood, and it really bodes to a couple of issues. And point number two in my thing is, we have to understand that our customers really don't care about us at all as business owners. But really, if you think about it, why should they? And think about the people you do business with. Other than you buy from them, and you are either happy or unhappy with their service, you don't really give them much thought unless you're engaged in the transactional scenario. On the business side, we all get all wrapped up in everything we're doing all the time and think our guests and our clients and our customers are just as involved, and they're really not. The second graphic that I have, the chart there with the persona profiles, we use this with clients, and this is a really, I think people really with this downtime we have really could spend some time looking at their customer base. And we'll start with the four, but I don't want to spend a lot of time. The four on the top, small ones on the top, I want to spend a lot of time other than just sort of explaining them quickly. And we'll start with our best customers, the loyalists, the cheerleaders, et cetera. These are the people that are going to buy from you no matter what. They're going to tell all their friends to buy from you. No matter what you do to them, you literally could probably punch them in the face when they walk in the door, and they would go and tell everyone how cool you are, because every time I walk in, the guy just punches me in the face. And isn't that just the coolest thing in the world? You can't hardly lose a client like that or a customer like that. They're just opportunities for sales. You know, your salespeople could really leverage that scenario, but there's not a lot of need to spend marketing effort or dollars on those people either, because they're coming no matter what. The group right next to them looks very much the same in terms of when we start to segment them out. The only difference is they typically want a price before they buy. So they're going to buy it no matter what. They just want to know what they're getting, and you know, they're a little bit cautious, but the real opportunity with them is if they're willing to buy one thing and they're looking for a price, you can oftentimes upsell them into other things just as well, and they're so trusting of you. You know, I guess you don't want to damage that relationship and be unethical, but they're so trusting of you that if you tell them to buy this, you really should buy these two other things too. They're likely to do that. So there's huge opportunity in that group for upsell with your sales team. Again, not a lot of need for marketing. Let's go on the other side of that coin, and part of this 72% disparity is in that red section that we call curmudgeons. These are the people, and every single business has them, probably somewhere between 5 and 15, maybe 20% if you're not a well-run company, of customers who, no matter what you do to them, you can't make them happy. This is the customer, you could give them a $100 bill every time they walked in the door, and they would complain to you that it wasn't sequential with one you gave them last time. The problem with this group right here, though, is they make a lot of noise. And everyone knows who they are and in your business and everything like that. And if you think about why they're problematic, other than they write bad reviews for you and all those types of things, is they distract your attention from your real opportunity, because what people tend to do is say, what do I have to do to change my business to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore? Well, I have news for you. That's going to happen no matter what, because these people are not satisfiable. I guess that's bad language for English, but you probably can't satisfy these people. And we tell our customers to just ignore them. Now, when you tell an entrepreneur to ignore a portion of their business, it kind of freaks them out a little bit. But if you think about it, why would you spend attention, time, money, effort on someone you can't make happy anyway? You know, your best scenario is just to walk away, look somewhere else. What you'll end up doing is growing your pie, out versus staying static. You're still going to have a swath like that in that pie, but everything else will be bigger if you just focus your attention elsewhere. That orange group, though, is one to really, as an owner of a business or management or executive level in a business, the ones we call watchdogs, they look very much like the people who complain. But after you get done being mad at them when they complain and you really think about it, these are the people that are telling you what's wrong with your company, because likely their complaint is fair. And if you've tried to work with them and you've been able to resolve it, if you go back to their initial complaint and don't look at the symptom you just treated when you helped them resolve their problem, but you look at the actual root cause of it, this is where operational opportunity in businesses really take off, and you can really fix. These are the people that are telling you what's wrong, and you should just listen to them. Where we think that there's huge opportunity, and especially in small businesses, and where elbow grease and creativity and a little bit of hard work can really pay off in a huge way, is in what we call the apathetic audience that businesses have. And this is, and if you think in political terms about the center, the apathetic audience is the center. They're probably 60, maybe 70, sometimes 80% of a customer base of clients of ours or your business. They're the people who buy from you, But if a shiny silver ball came along, they'd just buy there. Wouldn't be anything you did wrong, just another shiny silver ball came along. Think about, if you need a gallon of milk and you're in Hartland, and depends on what side of 23 you're on, you're either going to go to Myers or you're going to go to Kroger, right? And you don't have anything against or about either one of them. It's just whatever's the easiest for you. And this goes back to the first statement I made. Your customer doesn't really care about. The cool thing in this apathetic audience is if they have zero expectation of you, like you're going to buy it no matter what, they don't care. If you do anything for them, and the slightest positive thing happens, it's like a bomb went off in their mind in terms of expectation. So I'll give you an example. Years back, we used to work with Brighton Ford up here in Brighton, and we started sending postcards that were they were sent to demographics, and old guys like me got dark green and dark blue ones, young girls got pink and green ones, and the language was changed. And if it was from a male salesman, it was in male handwriting. If it was a female salesperson, it was in women's handwriting, and it had your car in it, and it was based on the life cycle of the car. It was junk mail. We used to send 3 or 4 of those a year, and up to 6 for people really in the middle. And sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. When we were doing that in about a 24, maybe 30-month period, we doubled their database, because people started telling other people how their salesmen sent them these postcards with oil change coupons or tire coupons or this kind of coupon or that kind of coupon, or even potentially a rebate if their car was near a lease end or things along those lines. And when we turned the program off, people were calling the dealership saying, how come you don't send me those cards anymore? Now, when's the last time you ever thought about calling a place that was sending you junk mail going, how come you don't send me that junk mail anymore? So, and it was, and back then the average marketing cost per vehicle in the car dealership world was just under $600. And at one point we had Brighton Ford's marketing cost per vehicle under $100. And they were by far had grown to the largest dealership in Livingston County at that point. So it's just a small example of just paying it. But the whole focus was that we were just trying to pay attention to this apathetic audience of our customers. And I'll get into a few other examples in a little while, but as you start to keep those sort of thoughts in mind when you begin to think about where your marketing is, think about the customer who thinks nothing of you, who just buys from you, and what can you do for them? And I got a great example we'll get into in a minute. As I scroll down, if you want to scroll down a little bit on the thing and we move into the next thing, at Ignite, we have a 3-tiered process that we use that every single business out there, I think, and especially if you're small, should really consider. And I took a group through this morning, as a matter of fact. Don't tell anyone we had a meeting in our office. Or anyway, we believe that there's 3 tiers. First, it's something called position, and we call it position definition, then message development, and then process implementation, and to think before you react. And the reason that we say that is, if you don't know who you're talking to, how do you know what to say? If you don't know where your business is stacked up, in the marketplace against your competition, how do you know who to direct your value proposition to? So we want to say, first, think like the customer. If I were my customer, what would I be thinking? If I were everyone that's on this Zoom thing, other than thinking, when is his loudmouth going to shut up? What do I think that I want to get out of this? Breaking down into those various personas, but also the different types. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into clients, in early initial meetings and say, well, tell me who you sell to. well, everyone's a client of ours. Yeah, that's just not the case. There's not one single business out there that everyone is a customer of. We look at it and breaking them down into two things: revenue personas, meaning who's going to spend money with us and why, and then operational personas. Who do we need for our business to succeed? If you're in a business that has huge turnover in labor force or something like that, it might be how are you going to, what's your process going to be for recruiting? If you're in a business that requires a lot of referral selling, what's that going to look like? If you're in some sort of multi-level marketing thing, how are you going to put that together? And then come back to always, like I had mentioned earlier, like what's in it for them. So thinking about what's in it for them will key you into what that little thing might be that you could do that would be maybe a little elbow grease, not cost effective or not expensive, and create you a kind of a big bang. This might be, do you want me to pause or just keep rolling? Like I get on a roll, so give me
No, no, you're good. I mean, I'm tuned in, following along. I don't see a lot of questions coming in right now.
Okay.
So we can kind of wait to the end. Hopefully people have questions for you, Mitch.
So this is a horrible chart, but I can't figure out how to make it better. This brand value timeline that we use to kind of explain what I'm talking about. And you'll see that there are two parallel paths. One that we've named the brand path, one we named the consumer path. And with all the context that we've sort of laid out, if you think about how the brand or the consumer doesn't really care about the brand until they figure out that there's something that they want from that brand or that company. What brands do is they bombard the consumer. So there's advertising, there's billboards, there's TV, there's radio, there's whatever. They also hope for word of mouth advertising, meaning, somebody does business with them and they tell some friends. That's actually the best kind of thing. But at some point, a potential customer will become aware of a brand. And at that point, we have to think about what the customer journey is going to look like. And typically in most businesses, not all, but in most businesses, when you become aware of a brand and you become aware of the services they offer and it's something you're interested in, the likelihood of you going to a website to check them out is probably very high nowadays. The thing you have to consider in your website, and this is the thing that blows my mind that people don't more often than that, but if you go to your website right now and look at it and put a stopwatch on it, know that the first time someone comes there, in 3 seconds, they're going to make a determination whether they're going to stay or not, whether they're in the right place. So think about how fast 3 seconds is. Think about the visual presentation that your website makes right at the top in 3 seconds. That's how quickly people decide. If it looks like the place they want to be, they'll stick around for another 8 to 11 seconds. I mean, that's at most 4 seconds that you have to convince someone they're in the right place. There's not a lot of time for writing. There's not a lot of time for reading. Pictures have to do what they have to do. It's do I feel good about all those types of things? Hopefully, after they've joined and that we have at the thing where it's at the top where it says confirm point of interest. Hopefully at that point, they've decided that they're in the right spot. At that point, you have them until you bore them, till they find out what they want, or they decide to contact you. When one of the first things we do with every single brand we have is first we do a website evaluation. The next thing we do is we blind shop them. We just call them on the telephone. How many times have you called a place on the telephone where first it tells you this call is going to be recorded for quality purposes, and then you transfer to another division to get what you want, and it says this call is going to be recorded for, and then you sit on hold for 30 seconds. Where's your mindset at that point? I mean, I'm long gone by then, but where's your mindset at that point? Versus if a person answers the phone and we have a pretty good size heating and cooling company that we work with. And one of the ways that we taught them to, you know, well, it's pouring rain and 50 degrees out here, but how can I make your day better? And if you think when you're calling a heating and cooling company, likely your air doesn't work or your heat's not working, because why else would you call them other than chat on the phone, and see what their day's going like. But likely you're in some form of distress. And when the phone gets answered, saying it's 50 degrees outside, but how can I make your day better? Think about what that does to your psyche and how willing you are to continue the conversation versus if they just answered the phone, Acme Heating and Cooling, how can I help you? Just changes people's mindset, and it's the simplest cost-free thing to do. That's why we talk about that first point of outreach with a brand or contact with a brand is critically important. So you can have the best website in the world. You could have the best brochure in the world. You could have the best TV campaign in the world, have spent $1 million in this yellow section that we call the hidden buying cycle, where people make ruthless buying decisions and you're not there to explain it to them, any kind of things to them. But if they have this expectation and then they call you and they get, what can I do for you? You're just gone, right? You're gonna leave. The counter to that is, what if you have the most amazing product offering in the world and it can really change people's lives, and in that hidden buying cycle, you just digging yourself a 12-foot hole, and people aren't even going to reach out to you. So going back to understanding your market, understanding who your customer is, understanding what's in it for them, really defining your value proposition, and what competition you're up against. If everybody looks one way, how can you differentiate yourself, and look a little different, or do something different in that area? And then it's just a matter of every interaction, the better the interactions go, the more you can charge, literally. And the worse they go, well, then you spend more money on marketing. That goes back to that Brighton thing that I was telling you about. At one point, they were the most expensive place to buy a car in Livingston County, and they sold more cars than anybody. Well, people obviously don't spend extra money for no reason. They had built a high value proposition. And so, they sold more cars than anyone. But this is where, so now I'm going to try to combine, and I apologize if I'm jumping, or maybe I want to try to combine the things we just talked about in the.
Ask a quick question.
Yeah.
So, you talked about what I call critical 3 seconds when someone visits your website. And then, like you said, if you do capture them, then you have that 8 to 11 second, to really engage them, I guess is a good way to put it. But what, in your expertise, opinion, what kind of things can we look at our websites where that 3 second comes in critical, the 3 seconds comes in being critical? Is it color, right? It's color, pictures, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
And is there anything you could share that maybe could help us take a look at our websites?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of things, and it varies with everyone, but the simpler the better. And really, the simpler the better. And then it comes down to, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, what's the goal? If you're driving people to a website with an offer, say on social media, rather than drive them to a home page, make sure you have a landing page, you know what I mean, that immediately satisfies their need. But in terms of the colors in the website, there's certain colors, I mean, unless they're in your brand, we would avoid, like the reds and real shocking colors. Unless, I mean, here, if you're in some kind of scare business, by all means, like you do horror movies for a living, certainly. But the things that are the most inviting to us are things that put us at ease, right? Knowing that 85% of our sensory input comes via our eyes. How sophisticated do you need your website to be? So I want to use this example, and this is why I can't answer it directly, because there's so many variables. But think about how Walmart looks. So who shops at Walmart? Typically, it's thought of as a bargain brand place you go to get good value, good economy, right? And they had everything. Put that on the shelf for a second, and then think about how Neiman Marcus, what Neiman Marcus is. High value brand, expensive, but high quality, premier service, all of those types of things. All right, if I'm a consumer and I'm expecting an economy offering, and the website that I go to looks like Neiman Marcus, that 3 seconds, I'm gone in a second, because what does my brain immediately tell me? These guys are too expensive for me, right? The same thing in the opposite would happen. If I'm expecting a real sophisticated, high dollar, high, touch kind of a scenario, and it looks like a Walmart website, I'm gone again, because I'm going, this isn't what I was looking for, right? I'm a very important person, and I expect to have something that looks very sophisticated. So knowing this goes back to knowing who your customer is and what they're looking for, and trying to put yourself in their shoes. What would you expect to see if you were coming to a place that sold what you sold at the price point you sell at, or the offering that you have? What would you think it should look like? And this is typically where people try to cut some corners and costs. And I just think it's, you have to spend what you can only spend what you have to spend. But most of the time, websites undervalue companies, especially small companies, because a real website oftentimes is expensive, right? But thinking in terms of this, go back to watching ESPN. We're getting to watch lots of these things now, football games from 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. And we look at the graphics on the screen, and they look like they're from the Twilight Zone when we were little kids versus what we're used to now. With all the computers and gaming and all those types of things, our eyes and brains have become so visually developed that it has to be a continued level of sophistication to satisfy that, if we're in an offering where we're saying, trust me to do something. So it's got to be refined, and it's got to be all over the place. In terms of the next thing in that 8 to 11 seconds, what did I come there for, and did you answer my question? One of the biggest problems that businesses have is they're afraid to answer a customer's question. And this sounds weird, but I'm going to tell you, it happens all the time. In the case of a car dealer, they never want to give you the price over the phone. And I say, well, if you don't give me the price, then go somewhere else who will give me the price, right? Because the information is so available. So I would suggest that right now, our best example, yesterday, my wife and I and our son and daughter-in-law came to visit us real quick. They had to pick something up from us. And we were downtown Brighton at a condo we have there, and we were going to order carryout. And I went to 3 restaurants, and only one of them told me they were open. Well, they all were open, because I remember driving down Main Street, seeing signs in their window. But when I went to their website, which is what they want me to do right now, they didn't say first thing and front up, we're open for carryout and here's the hours. So we called one place only to find out they closed at 4 o'clock. And after we had made all the arrangements. So it's not the end of the world. I'll probably go back to that place, but think what I think of them now, where they could have easily just on their website had a little banner that said we're open from 12 to 4 only, at this time. So
hey, Mitch, can I interject for a second?
Yep.
On your example? I just wanted to share this with everybody really quick. Right now, and this is a little off the topic, but I thought this is a good opportunity to share, because this kind of reiterates your point. Right now, there is a survey out in Livingston County called the Consumers in COVID, a real-time survey. And basically, it's a survey for the consumer. Where are you going to look for information? How comfortable are you going to feel going into public places, restaurants, etc.? I am able to see the real-time statistics because I helped develop the survey. So far, we have had 986 responses on this countywide survey. Of those, 75.4% said that they will go to a business website to get up-to-date information.
Yeah.
Just so y'all know. So if your website is not up to date, 75% of the people are going to your website to find out what's going on. Just to reiterate your point.
Yeah. Same thing with social media. So let's just say you're a small business and you don't have an easy to manage website, or it's something you have to pay to do, and right now you're closed and your revenue is absolutely zero. Be all over your Facebook page with the same information, because Facebook searches very well. So, you know, there's ways around everything. You know, getting a web developer or your host company to add a line to your site, you know, I would suggest, just like you said, Katie, it's critical. But if you can't do that, boy, you got time on your hands. Be on your Facebook page like crazy right now. And then dovetailing into that, you know, all the time I hear, why is marketing so hard, and why can you do it, and why can't I do it? And it's not that we're so smart here. I mean, sure, we do it every day, so we see lots of things, so we get lots of ideas. You know, I don't know how to bake a cake, you know, whatsoever, but if there's a baker on, I'm sure just, you know, offhand they'd know 50 things they could tell me, but I could figure out how to bake a cake too. But my point being, ask somebody, get some help. And the reason that it's so hard is, and I can tell you from personal experience here at Ignite, we just redid our website a little while ago and I still hate it. We probably do it about every year or more. And I never get it. We even tried to hire someone once to do it, and I just got so frustrated with them, we let them go. But get some help. And the reason I say that is, you know too much about your business. So you overlook the most important things sometimes because you take them for granted. One of the things we do with our clients oftentimes, particularly the larger ones, is we sit in their monthly, weekly, annual, whatever it is, planning sessions and their budgeting sections, because they'll have groups, you know, from all over the place in, and they just talk about things like they're, you know, everyday occurrence. And I'm going, well, I do your marketing. I didn't know that. That means your customer doesn't know that. You know, how many times have people said to you as a business owner, I didn't know you did that? Well, it's because you take it so for granted, you don't bring it out there. So I would say, get help. Don't go alone on these things. And help can be anybody who will give you an honest answer. And that's really the hardest part, because your friends are going to tell you, oh no, that looks great. Get them to really look at it and do you an honest favor and say, tell me what's wrong with this. If you were my customer, what would you do different? You know, and people are all consumers, so they're going to be able to help you with those things. You have to have some outside perspective. There's people at SCORE. There's SBDC, there's MEDC, there's lots of places out there that will help you for free, I think, right, Katie? I mean, a lot of these things that'll give you free advice, and you can go to those kinds of things. But really, it can come down to just ask your customers, ask your friends, ask people who you trust that would give you an honest opinion. And then going back to, just like those watchdogs in that persona pie chart we had earlier, after you get mad, because we're entrepreneurs and we know everything and we're really good, otherwise we wouldn't have the guts to do this in the first place, sit down and think about it honestly, and then figure out how to change it. And those are the kind of things that we suggest you always do. And going to your survey, critically review your website all the time, and update it all the time, as much as you can possibly afford to do, because people are so sophisticated and their eye is so sophisticated that if you're not keeping up, you're actually, you know, performing a bit of a detriment to your brand, because you're not looking at things critically. Then I think we can wrap up with just the last few points, if you want to scroll up. In terms of competition right now, we're seeing a lot of businesses that have gone to the sidelines. They're either closed, they don't have revenue, they're afraid, who knows what. They think people aren't looking. If you have an Apple phone like I do or an iPhone like I do, every week I get a report and it tells me what my screen time is. And when this whole COVID thing started, the first week after it opened, it said your screen time was up, I forget, some crazy amount of time, right? It's because the first week I was in doldrum land going, oh boy, this is going to be bad. What are we going to do? And I sat around, you know, in the office and then at night looking at my phone constantly. People are in the market. They may not be buying today, which is the scary part. You have to market and advertise right now because they are looking. There is pent up demand like crazy, and I'm going to demonstrate that in just a second. But things, you don't have to think of expensive things to do. You can think of things that, going back to that apathetic audience, what can you do for them just to let them know you're there, because they don't even expect you to reach out to them. And if you do, holy bejeez, look what they'll think of you. And then just think critically and don't accept the easy answer. That's the main thing. I want to give two examples to emphasize and maybe tie all these points together, and then we can, if there's any questions, we can go through them, or if you're all sleeping, that's fine too, if I put you to sleep. But a good friend of mine owns the Brighton Tuck Shop. Rick Bourbonnais and I have been friends since we were teenagers, and I talked to him the other day, and he did this on his own. We help him with a few things, but he does a lot of stuff on his own. Think about his business. He's in the tuxedo formal wear business. He lost prom, huge amount of business. He lost auto show, huge amount of business. And he lost tons of spring weddings. How'd you like, and all of those opportunities have expired. He's closed for all intents and purposes, right? You can't come in, get measured for a tuxedo, and your wedding's probably canceled and things like that. But he had, prior to, they went to a bunch of, they were exhibiting at bridal shows and whatnot, and he had lists of people who had attended the bridal shows. And while he's closed, he's handwriting letters to all the brides that have weddings coming up in the future. He's like, I got time on my hands. I got nothing else to do. And I figure if I handwrite them a note telling them how important their wedding is to me, which he's been in business for, I think his dad started the business 50 years ago and he took it over, very young. He's been in that business forever. He's community oriented. And I can tell you his determination to make sure that tuxedos fit and are delivered and are appropriate, and how well they work with brides and things like that. He's putting that in letters. Well, what do you think those brides are going to think of him versus Men's Warehouse or any competitor that he has when it comes right down to the fact that when they're going to do it later? So it's costing him a piece of paper, an envelope, and a stamp, and he's making that happen, and it's just pure time. We have a client out in Granville. It's a Honda dealership in Granville. When this first started, car dealers were debating whether they should stay open, close the doors. When you tell me I can't sell a car and no one wants to bring their car in to be serviced because they think it's going to get contaminated, and they have, sometimes over 100 employees, imagine the overhead that those facilities take, not to mention the inventory that's on the lot, that they're responsible for. This team out in Granville, this Honda dealer out in Granville, is the largest Honda dealer in the state of Michigan. They became that over the last few years. And we convinced them to stay in the game. They have a Honda dealer in Grand Rapids. They're in Granville, 15, 20 minutes out of town. And the dealership the Honda dealership is part of the Fox Group, which is owned by DeVos's. That's in Grand Rapids. They got out of the game. They're basically closed. We convinced the staff or the team at Sarah Honda to stay in the game. Their AdWords spends, where we used to pay maybe $1.50 to $2.50, depending on the keywords per click, in April were around 30 cents. We cut the budget because we had to, but because the cost was like 20% of what it had been, they were everywhere and they were all over. We were doing radio with them. We were doing a little bit of TV with them. They sold 200 cars in April. And their competition at Fox sold 6. So, and how much market share did they gain? Just tons. So it's hard, they had to take a flyer. They have a little more money to spend than other people, granted, but they also have a lot more overhead, right? So it's all relative. But they stayed in the game and did that. I can tell you that every client we have that did that is winning. And it may not be completely in sales, but if you tell me that the Brighton Tuck Shop isn't winning as a result of his campaign that he's running right now, I'm going to tell you you're crazy, right? Because he's going to bounce back. He's lost the business he's lost. That's water under the bridge. But he's going to win. If you do have budget, I will tell you right now that Google and social advertising are very cheap. Radio and broadcast advertising are also very cheap right now comparatively, because so many players are out of the game. Radio and broadcast, that's radio and TV. The car dealerships, a lot of them are sitting on the sidelines, and that's a huge chunk of that business. You can buy those things for almost nothing now. You could spend $300 a month on Facebook advertising and dial in on an exact customer base and be all over people's pages. So I would suggest looking at those kind of things. I would suggest being creative. I would suggest putting yourself in your customer's shoes and what can you do for them? And then think about the guy that'll buy from you today and someone else tomorrow, and it's nothing that you can do. What little thing can you do for that person to turn them into a raving fan? And really, there's your silver bullet if you want one. So, that's all I have short of questions that people have.
I appreciate that, Mitch. Awesome information. For me, some of it is like, yeah, I should do that. But when you have it outlined right here, it really does put it into perspective. So thank you for developing this and sharing this. Some people have asked if they're going to get this, and the answer is yes. I can, after the webinar today, I will share the video, and I will also share this document with everybody that's tuned in today. So we'll make this available. And boy, I really need to look at our website.
One other thing, we tried to have it ready for this, and we just couldn't finish. We're wrapping up a step-by-step a process that we're going to have, and I would say there's probably 200 or 300 pages worth of content. It's an online book we're developing of our process, and we're going to sell it for $59. But anyone that's on this thing, I'll get you a code, Katie, that you can share with them. It's probably going to launch next week. We tried to have it ready for this, but we just couldn't get it done. You can share that where they can go through, and it's literally our step-by-step process. We don't care. Like, I don't fear competition. I'd just as soon someone show me a better way off of my idea, and then I'll just.
Are you giving me permission to put it in my
Yes.
June newsletter too?
Yes.
To everybody.
So we really are doing it for two things, and you and I have talked. Our company is really. We give away a lot of our services, and that's not to make ourselves feel good, but I figure if we give it away, we'll get it back in spades. And this is really our process, and some of it might be confusing, and some of it might be over people's heads, and other people might look at it and get some, might spark their imagination. And our thought is that we're going to charge $59 for it, only so that people actually put value on the content. We've found if we give things away completely for free, people just don't value the content. So we're going to do that, and then and I'll give it to you, and you can we'll create a code, you know what I mean, where they can get it for free. Anyone that's on this thing, they can have it for free. Something I always do at events like this, if anyone that's on wants to call me and set up an appointment, I'm happy to sit with them, and I will give them personal advice, whatever that's worth. I can help them destroy their company just as easy as they can do it on their own. But I've met with people, over the years, and we'll just talk for free. Talk is cheap, and And if I can spark someone's imagination, maybe someone will spark my imagination. I usually get as much out of those meetings as anybody else does. So we'll offer that as well to anyone that's on here, that just call me or email me. It's my
Thank you.
address is mitch@ignitexds.com, and we can set up a time and, get together and, maybe I can answer some personal questions.
Yeah, Mitch's
Or-
your contact information is also on the chamber website, but
Okay.
I will follow up with everyone that's on the call with an email, and I can I'll share this document, your contact information, and all that
Sure.
good stuff.
And
So
then as
thank
soon
you.
as that comes out, I'll let you know. It's probably going to be next
Perfect.
week where we'll launch it.
Sounds great. I will tell you along the lines of kind of what you're doing when you talk about that auto dealer in Granville. I kind of feel like we're doing the same thing here at the chamber. These Zooms are free. We're trying to really make sure that we're valuable to our members and to the business community. And, I agree with you, Mitch, because in the long run, it's going to come back, and maybe we'll get some new members out of it, because they say, wow, the Hartland Chamber is really doing quite a bit and bringing in these industry experts like you to really help, and, they're genuine about it. So, that's my goal. So I'm just going to check. I know you guys are chatting. There's a lot of thank yous coming through to you, Mitch. So thank you all that are saying thank you. Yeah, thanks. And then does anyone have any questions that are out there? I don't see any questions coming in. Does anyone have any questions for Mitch at this time? You guys are a quiet bunch today. Oh, no. Oh, I see. This was great. Yes, your chamber is giving a lot of value. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that.
Katie, I'll emphasize it. The whole reason I called you in the first place was all the emails that you're sending and all those kind of things. And it was like, you really are, doing a great job. So I appreciate that. There's huge value
thank you.
in the community. It's huge.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, and kudos, and thank you. And just so you all know, how I got Mitch to be on the Zoom is he was getting my emails, responded, and then we started having a little conversation, and I was like, wow, it'd be great to have you on a Zoom. So, I'm open for those that have, if you have industry tips in your industry that you would like to share with our membership and other businesses that are tuning into these webinars, please reach out to me. My contact information is on our website. I'm going to drive you to our website, but it's katie@heartlandchamber.org. Real easy. Kathy, the company that Mitch is the CEO, he owns, is called Ignite XDS, and I will send you an email with his contact information.
Sure.
So.
And we're in Brighton. We're just, we moved recently. We're just south of Costco off Old 23. Well,
Awesome.
I am. Nobody else gets to be here.
It's your home away.
That's actually one of the really cool things. I think we're probably 95% of our normal production, and we haven't had anyone in the office in, I think, 8 weeks, maybe 9 weeks. And so we really learned a lot about our team. And I'm actually kind of grateful that we did that. We're going to change the way we do business here and let people work more from home. They've actually earned it. How cool is that?
Yeah, and I agree with you. The conversations that I'm having, like on these Zooms and with other folks, is we're taking that more of a virtual shift, right? Taking advantage of technology. And it's true, you have a cell phone and a computer and you really can get a lot done. The joke yesterday with a Zoom on Tuesday with the schools was, I'm getting a lot more done because there's no interruptions coming into my office, right? So, hey, speaking of technology, just to give everyone that's listening just a quick heads up, and then we'll kind of let you go. We're coming up on the hour here. On Tuesday, May 19th, I have Dr. Paula Ruffin to talk about your business health. That's our Zoom at noon on the 19th. So if you want to register for that, everything again is either on Facebook or on our website. I don't have a Zoom scheduled for Thursday, the 21st, because I may be out of town. We're thinking about taking a vacation. Don't tell anybody. We're just thinking about going up north. And then on Thursday, May 26th, we have 2 technology experts. So if you want to learn a little bit, like, is your technology working for you virtually or in your office, and kind of what they're seeing and where the way they see the shift in technology is going to take us during our, what everyone says, new normal. So with that, I don't see any other questions coming in. So I guess, Mitch, I just want to say
Thank you.
thank you again, business and your expertise today. And I'll look for that code and I'll share it. So
Okay, I appreciate
again,
it.
thank you.
Yep, as soon as we get it turned on, I'll send it to you. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate
okay,
your time.
awesome.
Mhm.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Everyone have a great day. Okay, bye.